Welcome to TakeaSide, the sports talk show that lets you, the viewer, choose our winners. As always, head over to Sidey.co and the Sidey Debates app for your chance to climb up that leaderboard. Shout out to last week's winner, true hotel guru, Bob Roush, who will be taking home a $25 Amazon gift card. This is the last show of the semester, and as a graduating senior, it comes with great pride and sadness to announce that today will be my last show as the host of TakeaSide. So without further ado, let's get right to it. This past weekend's NFL draft saw some major surprises with teams like the Green Bay Packers and Oakland Raiders largely perceived as draft losers, while the Chicago Bears and Baltimore Ravens have been labeled as the draft's biggest winners. I'm joined now by Max McElroy and Ryan Atchison to give their takes for the NFL draft's biggest winners and losers.
I think that the Baltimore Ravens had the best draft out of any other team, and I also think that they are poised to be able to make a big Super Bowl run and a legitimate Super Bowl run. You know, you have the whole stigma about, Lamar can't win a playoff game. He won one this year. Not only that, now he is surrounded with weapons. So the first overall pick for them was Rashad Bateman, the wide receiver from Minnesota. In my opinion, the true best, most complete wide receiver. Jamar Chase had 1 year, where Rashad had basically 2.5 years playing football, and I think that he is just an absolute stud in terms of route running, in terms of catching the ball and catch radius. He is a true wide receiver one, which is what Lamar has needed for a very long time. And then you look at their second pick in the first round from the Orlando Brown trade with the Chiefs. They got Jason Owe, who's an edge rusher who has so much upside. He didn't quite have the production in college, but he's super athletic, and I think he'll be able to develop really well. And the Ravens are traditionally very good at developing players anyway. And so just with those first two picks that they had, I think this team has already made amazing and significant improvements with their offense and defense now.
The Ravens did have a good draft, I'll give you that. However, I think the Bears got the best draft overall. Their first round pick, let's talk about it, Justin Fields. Arguably, back a year ago or so, he was the number 2 quarterback right after Lawrence. And then Zach Wilson all of a sudden came up, and yeah, it's just how did Fields just drop so all of a sudden off the draft boards? He had 41 touchdowns and 3 picks 2 years ago, and the Bears just went aggressive and traded up for the guy. And now I don't think he'll start right away. I think it's probably smart for Andy Dalton to be their starting quarterback from week 1, and then ease Fields in. Maybe start Andy Dalton probably 10 games in. But to me, the best draft doesn't have to be who makes the biggest impact exactly right away. It doesn't have to be a team that has to be a Super Bowl contender. But I think the Bears also were drafting Tevin Jenkins, the offensive tackle from Oklahoma State. Big dude, 6'6", 320, is a monster. He will push you over. He's got a head-hunting ability, and he's angry. He plays angry, and that's something the Bears need. They need somebody who plays angry, who is willing to get into the second half of the linebackers and safeties and run people over. And then they also drafted Khalil Herbert, a former KU player who played at Virginia Tech this last year, and he might be competing for some touches with David Montgomery and Tariq Cohen. Cohen's still kind of questionable if he'll stay on the Bears. But I think overall the Bears just went aggressive. They didn't have much draft stock to begin with, but they went out and got their guys. And I think overall the Bears are going to look pretty good in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I love Justin Fields. I think he's going to be great. The problem, Will, is I've seen so many draft mocks and basically profiling of different people, and they all say Tevin Jenkins is a right tackle, and he can dominate at the right tackle, but he is not left tackle. And we just saw the Bears just release their left tackle. And so I don't know how good or how well he will be able to transfer over to the left tackle spot. Like you said, Justin Fields, I think he's going to be talented. I don't think he's going to necessarily start right away, but I think he will be great. But, in the draft, the whole goal is to win a Super Bowl. So you say that you want, teams, it's not about playing right away. However, you have, like the Ravens now, they are in win-now mode before they have to pay Lamar. Now they finally got, last year the wide receiver room there was Willie Snead and Hollywood Brown, and now you have Rashad Bateman, Hollywood Brown, Sammy Watkins, and then you have Willie Snead, and then they also drafted Tylan Wallace from Oklahoma State. So that wide receiving core now is loaded with then Lamar, who obviously one of the best runners, maybe the best runner at the quarterback position to ever play the game. So this team is ready now, and they are built to win the Super Bowl.
They are ready, but it depends on Lamar. There's been question about his passing abilities, and yes, now they're gaining them weapons, but this is going to be the ultimate test, I think, this season with all the weapons they've stacked up, drafting two wide receivers for the Ravens this year. It's really going to test how legit Lamar is going to be this year for the Ravens. Well, let's talk about draft losers. What do you got, Max, as your draft loser?
So the draft losers, the Green Bay Packers. I mean, the whole draft day, with the news coming out basically an hour before the draft started, you have Aaron Rodgers wants out. He is considering retiring rather than coming back to the Packers. Just a horrible, horrible situation for them. And then not only that, they draft a cornerback in the first round. And a cornerback, I would say it's someone. I think Eric Stokes is actually. I think he's fairly talented, but man, I don't think there was a bigger loser on Thursday night than there was with the Green Bay Packers.
I would say, though, for the Packers, I think Eric Stokes was the right pick. I think they need somebody also to be on the other side of Jair Alexander. The secondary for Green Bay really struggled to cover wide receivers this year. But I think that pick, especially with Stokes, who is a really good corner, he can really have good ball hawking abilities and really shut down guys and get in guys' faces. But I'm going to make a bold pick here and say the Las Vegas Raiders are my biggest loser this year. And their first-round pick, Alex Leatherwood, great player. No disrespect for him. He's a fantastic tackle. I think they reached for him a little bit too high. Some experts were saying that he could be a second round. He would be more of a second-round draft choice. And a lot of the times that team tends to happen. But, I mean, the Raiders went out and got their guy. Don't get me wrong. But I think they could have used Tevin Jenkins there because they wanted to fill that right tackle position because they already got that left tackle position. So now they're going to have to transfer Leatherwood over to right tackle, and he's been spending most of his time at the left tackle position. Yeah,
the thing with the Raiders pick is I think they definitely reached, but we don't know if he was going to be available later on when they pick in the second round. Where I think if you flip the picks for the Raiders, they got Trevon Moore, a stud safety from TCU. They got him in the second round and Alex Leatherwood in the first round. I feel like if you flip that, it doesn't end up being that bad. Where the Packers, it seems like they just have no direction. They drafted 3 interior offensive linemen last year, and then this year they drafted another 2 interior offensive linemen. They drafted another running back after re-signing Aaron Jones, drafting A.J. Dillon. I just think that the Packers just don't have a direction that they want to go, where I think as the Raiders are, they're just at least just trying to get talent on the field.
I would say, too, that the Raiders have had controversial picks with Mike Mayock being GM. I mean, a couple years ago they drafted Colleen Farrell from Clemson, and he was projected late first round. They picked him at number 4.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they did draft, you mentioned Trevon Moore. Great player, probably the best safety in the whole draft. But then they drafted 2 other safeties. So I didn't understand. They missed a big opportunity with a wide receiver. They needed another wide receiver for Carr on the other side to make a big impact with Ruggs. And then Tyrell Williams sat out last year or got injured last year. But I think they needed one more wide receiver to make a big difference. I think just overall the Raiders just missed a big opportunity to get another weapon for Carr.
Yeah, it was very fun to watch that on draft night and the whole weekend unfold. We are going to take a short break and we will be back right after the commercials.
Why doesn't my skin look like theirs? Why is my nose so big? I'm never gonna look like those girls.
From adversity, we rose. We made history and became pioneers, voyagers, champions, Jayhawks. And when our chant rises, haunting and hallowed, Jayhawks are telling the world what's near. Victory.
Welcome back. With the NFL draft behind us, now's the time to take a look at what teams have the best chance to knock off the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFC and the AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs. Cleveland Browns and Buffalo Bills are popular picks in the AFC after strong playoff performances, while the Chicago Bears are emerging as a popular pick out of the NFC with first-round draft pick Justin Fields under center. I'm joined now by Blake Sevenbergen and Maya Peterson to debate which teams have the best chance at knocking off last year's Super Bowl teams.
Yeah, Maya, before we go into the Browns offseason and the Browns draft, which I, for one, think was great, let's talk about what the Browns had last year. The Cleveland Browns last year won a playoff game for the first time in who knows how long. It's been decades since the Browns had won a playoff game. And they almost knocked off the Kansas City Chiefs already, albeit Patrick Mahomes got hurt late in that game. But to be in the situation against the team that just won the Super Bowl, that's still great for the Cleveland Browns. Baker Mayfield going into his 5th year, another year under Stefanski, who I would regard as one of the top coaches in the league.
Okay.
Odell's coming back off of an ACL tear. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, two-headed monster in the backfield. That offense it's going to be unstoppable next year.
See, okay, so I'm going to start talking about the draft for the Buffalo Bills because they got a lot of people that no one was expecting to get, but they're going to make a big impact. As you know, Ryan said, it's about the impact that you have in the long run instead of like immediate change. So off of the defense, because we know in order to beat the Chiefs, or really, I guess you could say the Bucs as well, is to be able to pressure the quarterbacks, make them uncomfortable, and give them tough situations. So starting on the defensive end for the Bills, they were able to get Greg Rousseau and Boogie Bashan, who are monsters whenever they get a chance. If they're close to the quarterback, you can just go ahead and count it as sack. And that's what I like on the Bills' end because I think they will be able to pressure Patrick Mahomes, make him make those tough passes, which we know either way he'll probably make it, but they can actually force him to have to look for a different option.
Yeah, I mean, with the Bills, with Russo, a great pick, obviously. I mean, freak athlete, great talent, but at Miami, he was brought into question on draft night for his ability to sack the quarterback. So I'm a little worried where he's going to be next year, 2-3 years. Maybe he's there and he's that guy. I mean, he's a freak athlete, like you said. So, but let's go into the Browns, not just the draft, but the offseason. The Browns had big questions on defense. They went out and they signed a safety from the Rams, James Johnson. John Johnson, I apologize. Great signing, secondary help that they needed. Jadeveon Clowney to play on the outside. I mean, he was a beast in college. He started off his NFL career really well. Let's see if he can get back to that playing ability with the Browns. And let's go into the draft. They drafted Gregory Newsome, great cornerback. PFF had him as the best defensive feat in the entire draft. I mean, when you're talking about answering the questions you have on defense, you go get a corner, a safety, and a D lineman. Boom, there you go.
Yeah, those are great, but it's hard to like even predict it because with the Cleveland Browns, as we know, like it was low-key a fluke for them even to be in the playoffs. And like you said, they came close, but Patrick Mahomes was hurt. So you're adding people to a team that is really unsure of their actual ability anyways. And you can't even try to guarantee Odell Beckham because we know last year we put all that money. Did you see the kid that like tattooed that the Cleveland Browns were going to win once they got Odell, and then he continues to get hurt. So he's kind of like I don't really know if he's going to come back. But on the offensive end for the Buffalo Bills, you have Josh Allen, who's a great quarterback. He's learning his actual ability now and gaining some confidence. And then, of course, Stephon Diggs, you got to love him. He's able to make space wherever he is. And Cole Beasley, although I'm not a Dallas Cowboys fan, he is one of the better players that came from the Dallas Cowboys. And here's my theory, but you have to hear me out, okay?
I'm listening.
So the Bills were able to draft another player, Marquez Stevenson, which is a stud, obviously. But Cole Beasley came into the draft as a tight end and then started to transition into a wide receiver. But with Stevenson and Stephon Diggs, you have two great options for Josh Allen. And what if you move, hear me out, like I said, Cole Beasley back into that tight end position where he kind of begins to play a Travis Kelce role, which that for yourself, the defense is going to be confused. They won't be able to handle this three option where Josh Allen is really used to only having one option with Stephon Diggs and forcing the pass to Cole Beasley.
Yeah, so the Bills, obviously last year an AFC Championship team. 2 years now, though, they've been expected to be the team that can knock off the Chiefs, and they still can't do it. And I don't know if they answered their offensive questions well enough to do it. And back to the Browns, answering the questions they have, they also drafted a linebacker, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Sorry, that's a tough name. JOK is a monster. Freak athlete on the outside linebacker position, sideline to sideline, making plays. I mean, they got people at D-line they added, linebackers, safety, corner. They answered the entire question on defense. Their offense is only going to get better with the return of Odell, I think. Baker Mayfield is coming into his own. They've had 1 year under Stefanski. Stefanski's a great coach. Give them one more full offseason. I mean, they didn't have a spring last year to get used to what their new system was. And this year, they're going to have an entire offseason. The Browns are deadly.
See, it's kind of hard between these two decisions because it's like I would pick people from both teams and just build a super team because both of these teams have the ability to maybe beat the Chiefs, but it all comes down to confidence. And when you get on that last stage, are you going to be able to perform well, whether it's coming down to the last quarter or even if you drive into overtime? But the keys in general for beating the Chiefs, what would you say? Like number one key off the bat?
It's got to be getting to Mahomes.
Yeah, so with that, what defense would you want out of the two?
I would want Myles Garrett running at Patrick Mahomes all day long.
See, but we've seen that. And then, you still lose. So it's like I would rather take a Buffalo Bills team that is able to pressure him, but also have that offensive end that's not going to be debatable like the Cleveland Browns to say, well, Odell hopefully will be able to make an impact, but we know the Buffalo Bills can make an impact on the offensive end. So all they need is that quick pressure to Patrick, get the ball again, and boom. We're headed to the Super Bowl, potentially.
I don't know about you. Obviously, Maya, I'm excited to see
Yes.
what will happen this year. I think the Chiefs are going to have a lot of tougher competition than they have in years past. They obviously answered a lot of offensive line questions. But with that, we will take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Yeah, I always just clap at the start.
This is where everyone's talking amongst themselves. Do you know how to do it? Do you know how to do it?
Are we supposed to smile?
When do we start? Somebody over here already started.
Can we talk about the piccolo part? It's the most complicated one.
It is.
If you listen, you're doing it when the band's not playing.
You have to tell me when it starts. I still don't know.
Here we go.
Just clapping now.
No humps.
Nailed it.
I practiced this morning.
Farmer's just two people.
It has a right and a wrong way of doing it. No. Wrong.
I like my way better.
I don't know how to
1,
do
2,
the
3,
end.
4.
It's just
I don't know the
Sorry.
head.
It's hard by yourself.
Welcome back. The Kansas City Royals have been the biggest surprise in the MLB this season, posting a league-best 16-10 record. Led by star first baseman Carlos Santana, the Royals are looking like a contender early on this year. I'm joined by Emma House and Marina Seaver to debate on if the Royals are a legit World Series contender.
I think they are, and at least right now, and the numbers don't lie. Like Jacob just said, they are competing to be not only they are the best team in the AL Central in their division, and they're competing to be the best team in all of Major League Baseball, and they have been sort of in and out of that position. And so that, to me, sort of answers that right there. Are they a contender for the title? That's a little bit more drastic of a statement than saying that they're a contender for their division. But I think they've got their division locked down at the moment, because when you're talking about, they're in and out, again, of being the best team in all of baseball, above the Dodgers, above the A's, and things like that. And so, yeah, are they a contender? I think absolutely.
I like how you said at the moment, and I think that's a key thing to kind of differentiate. I think at the moment, yeah, they're the best, but overall, by the end of the season, once we get mid-season groove, end of season, I think they're going to choke. I think they're going to kind of lose that position a little bit. And I mean, you've got Chicago right behind them. Are they going to take them right now? Maybe not, but in the middle of the season or kind of near the end when we get down to crunch time, I think that we are going to see Kansas City choke. It happens all the time. They've done it a lot, and I think, I don't think they're ever going to get the title this year. I honestly would say I would be surprised if they made it to the playoffs this year. I think when you're looking at it overall in the AL, you've got so many teams that are way better than them right now. You've got Oakland that is just on fire right now, and you're gonna see teams like Houston come up. People who are going to hit that groove, and they're going to be better than Kansas City.
I mean, maybe on paper there are better teams than Kansas City, and I mean, we know the MLB loves to do that. The Padres are consistently in the top 5 power rankings, and on paper they're better than the Royals. They're barely a couple days ago they were like 2 games over 500. And so that's like, the Royals are the hottest team in baseball right now. They just are, and one of the hottest, if you don't want to say that they are the hottest for sure. They're just playing so well, and everybody on the team contributes every single game. And I'll give it to you, of course it's a long season, 162 games, and the biggest test in baseball is who can go the distance, who can go that full 162 game stretch. And I think the Royals can do it. They've posted, this is the best 25 game start that they've had to a season since 2015, and we all know what happened in 2015. They won the World Series. So they're off to a hot start. That seems to bode well for them. And again, of course there's a test of time and lasting, but I think the later games in the season will actually benefit them because they've got young pitchers that they've brought up that could use the experience that will only get better once they've become acclimated to the MLB. And also you have starting shortstop Mondesi, who's just got absolute wheels. He can totally scoot around the bases. He's a super prolific base stealer. And so when you have a guy like that who can really help set the table and get himself into scoring position, he's not even playing right now. You've got Nicky Lopez backing him up because Mondesi's out. So I think those later games will actually continue to fare well for the Royals. And again, the question of whether or not they'll contend, they're contending right now. I expect them to contend in the future, if not for being the best team in the MLB for their division, the AL Central. And I think, I'll say without a doubt that I think they'll make the playoffs. They are a huge surprise this year, but they've also brought in some really great new names. Benintendi, Michael A. Taylor, Carlos Santana. All of those new guys have contributed to a shift in the energy and the momentum in Kansas City. And we're seeing an energy level that we haven't seen since the Royals were in, those couple of World Series runs in 2014 and 15. So I think all of that means well for the Royals. I think that sort of change is going to again carry into the later games of the season. And as the season continues, we'll see guys like Mondesi come back. We'll see the pitching staff improve. I think it's going to bode well for them.
I would argue that, looking at the team right now, there's only a couple people, I guess you could argue maybe 8 people that are consistently hitting very well throughout the season. Other than that, you've got players that are, they've got a good hit every once in a while, but they're not doing this consistently every single game. And you've had a lot of other teams in the league, at least, that in the whole, I guess, all of MLB that are hitting way better than them, hitting consistently every single game, and I don't think we're going to see that throughout the season.
Well, I think hitting, if you've got 8 guys hitting consistently, that's everyone but one person on your lineup. So I think that's,
I guess, throughout the whole team, 8 guys throughout the entire team.
I guess, but even then, I would say the hitting is the least of the Royals' concerns. It's the bullpen. That's where they need to turn their focus to, is the bullpen coming in and not blowing leads like we saw last night. But still, even with that weakness, they are contending to be the best team in the MLB. But hitting, yeah, I'm not worried about the Royals hitting at all. They don't have anyone hitting above 300. They've got Carlos Santana's close to it right now. But the thing with them is everybody contributes when they get to the plate. Everybody puts the ball in play. They can move runners over. Even Nicky Lopez, who, again, is like a backup for Mondesi, he gets up to the plate. He's incredibly disciplined. He rarely strikes out, and he puts the ball in play. He's laid out some really great bunts, and it's just that team effort of everybody's a factor. Everybody contributes. You've got the Salvies, you've got the Merrifields, you've got guys like that, but then also your new guys coming in and stepping up, your maybe less notable guys like Nicky Lopez. Everybody's all in right now, and again, as the season progresses and we get Mondesi back and we get, hopefully we can get some more power out of Soler and he can get back to hitting like the DH that he's supposed to hit like. And I just think, yeah, it looks good for the Royals. It looks good in Kansas City, and hopefully we'll see another 2015 era playoffs for them.
It would be surprising. It would definitely be good for the Kansas City area, especially with the Chiefs and everything. It'll be an exciting season. We'll see how it plays out, and we're going to throw it back to Jacob.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Be sure to keep posting debates and arguments on sided.co and give us a follow on social media at TakeaSideKU. As mentioned earlier, today is the last Take a Side show of the semester and my last appearance on the show as I plan to graduate from KU next month. It's been a great 2 years working on this show, and I want to thank everyone involved. From those debating on camera to those working behind the scenes, it's been a pleasure to work with you to make this show what it is today. I would also like to extend the utmost gratitude to Cal Butcher, the man behind it all. When I came to you 2 years ago, I had no idea what the show would become, but with your help, TakeaSide has become something that we can all be proud of. I'm excited to see what happens next. For all of us here at TakeaSide, thank you, and we'll see you again next year.